Hello, Garland Nixon here, and I've often referred to the neocons as narcissists. I've used that term. I've referred to the U.S. empire as the narcissistic empire. I'm going to explain why. Maybe you'll agree, or maybe not. Let's talk. Hello, Garland here, and I always like to see my comments. All right, so maybe, just maybe, darn it, I lost my page. Give me a second here. So what we're going to talk about, if I'm ever able, there we go, to find what I'm looking at here. Give me a second. We're going to talk about this narcissistic empire. We're going to talk about the neocons and their, boy, what a time I'm having here. I've lost. All righty. Well, I haven't done that one before. That's a great job. At any rate, I'm going to take it for, I'm going to imagine that you guys are still here, but I think I have really screwed up and lost my page. So at any rate, let's try to figure, what a time. What a time. All right. Well, I'll just do this. At any rate, so since I don't know where everybody is, I'm going to try to do the best I can and maybe figure this out later. Okay. The bottom line is you've seen me refer to, maybe I'll use Rockfin as a reference this time. There we go. I'll use Rockfin as a reference. I lost my browser with my actual show that I'm doing on it, and I don't know how to get it back. Let me get one last shot, because what we're talking about here is let me see. No way to find my stinking browser. Oh, never mind. Okay, I got it. So what we're talking about is the issue of narcissism. Please forgive me for all this stupidity, but the issue is narcissism, right? And when I say the narcissistic empire, when I say the neocons are narcissists, I don't just mean that in a general sense. I really kind of mean it in a clinical sense. And so here's what we're going to do. Let's look over what it means to be a narcissist. Let's look over. There's actually, if you look at what's called the Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, DSMV, we're going to look at that. It's a diagnostic and statistical manual of mental disorders. Let's go over those. Let's talk about not just the neocons, but let's talk about the U.S. empire. Is it a narcissistic empire? Because the neocons, to be honest, are an expression of the empire. They're an expression of the ideology of empire. So anyway, let's get started. What we're going to do. So it says, while we have ideas of what narcissism looks like, the DSM lists 9 traits and characteristics that are clinically significant in determining if someone's supersized ego may be something more than just self-confidence. At least 5 of the following traits must be exhibited to meet the diagnostic criteria for narcissistic personality disorder. Now, before I go that far, let me say this. Don't just listen to all of them and say, my God, I'm a narcissist, because you may be. Keep in mind something, that we all as human beings have some level, I mean, anything that I could come up with, narcissism, being a sociopath, being this, being that, right? Any trait I could come up with, right? Any mental malady or emotional malady that I could come up with, everybody has some of it. I mean, to be healthy, but look, let me put it to you like this. If you look out for yourself, it's not necessarily narcissism. One of the big problems that people with low self-esteem have is the opposite, the inability to look out for their own needs, to take care of themselves emotionally, to realize that they should have boundaries. So when you hear something and you think, okay, maybe that's me, not necessarily. You know what I mean? I'll put it to you like this. if you're a really good pool player, is it grandiose to think to understand it? You're a really good pool player. If you play a particular game and you're really, really good at it and you beat everybody. But I'll put it like this. If Michael Jordan said, I'm a great basketball player, does that mean he's a narcissist? No, he was a great basketball player. Wayne Gretzky, if he says, I think I'm the greatest hockey player ever, does that mean he's a narcissist? He may very well be the greatest hockey player ever, but there's an argument to be made there. Now, if Schlumpy, the Saturday evening hockey player says, I'm the greatest ever, well, you might want to question that. But at any rate, so don't just listen to these and automatically say, I'm a narcissist, my husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever the case may be, some combination thereof, yikes, maybe a narcissist. Not necessarily. We all have narcissistic traits. We all have various traits. The question is, do you have 5 of these and how pronounced are they and things of that nature? Okay, so don't go diagnosing yourself. All right, let's start here. So we're talking about the U.S. empire, and the neocons are an expression of the U.S. empire. Let's go. Grandiose, number 1, grandiose of sense of self-importance. For instance, like somebody would say, I'm the dispensable nation. Think about this. United States is 4% of the world's population. And Tony Blinken and these other narcissists, they're much worse. Actually, I would argue they're psychopaths. That's when you get to the violent kind. But these other people, when they say we're the greatest, we're a rules-based international order, right? The US-led world order, that's saying that a country with 4% of the world's population, for some reason, has the right to rule the other 96, to lead the other 96. Grandiose sense of self-importance. This is the belief that your contribution and presence are essential to the happiness, success, or equilibrium of other people and any enterprises or relationships. They give an example. The project would have tanked if I hadn't been on the team. If it weren't for me, who knows where my spouse would have ended up. So that's an example. Or we're the indispensable nation. The world looks to us for leadership, right? 4% of the world. Grandiose sense of self-importance. Let's just check that one off as a definite yes and move on to number 2. Preoccupation with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love. This describes the belief that you are capable of exceptionally high levels of achievement, even when your skills or abilities provide no evidence of this being possible. As an example, let's just say you got a country, and that country is 33 now, I just probably by the time I finished the sentence, we had another trillion, $34 trillion in debt the last time I checked. 34 trillion in debt last time I checked. And you send, let's say, Janet Yellen to China. Last time I checked, China had, this was some years ago, like $14 trillion or something in savings. So we are getting close to $50 trillion in the red from China, right? And Janet Yellen said to China, they should consider free market. You should consider doing things. Well, wait a minute. You know what that's like? That's like an alcoholic walking up to me and saying, hey, Garland, take a swig off of this cheap Boone's Farm wine. And Garland says, man, no thanks. I'm not a drinker. And the person's like, are you kidding? Look at my life. I've lost my wife and kids. I've lost my job. I've lost my driver's license. My family won't talk to me. My health is shot. My liver's burned out. I'm homeless. Can you spare a couple bucks? And I'm like, no, I can't spare a couple bucks. Oh, okay. In that case, join me for a drink. You should live your life like me because I really know, right? You'd be like, dude, you're coming to borrow money from me because you're like a friggin' alcoholic and you're asking me to join you with a bottle of cheap wine. You're asking me to turn my life into yours. I'm living okay. I got a roof over my head. I can pay my gas and electric bill. And you want to sleep here because you got no place to stay in the wintertime. And I should become like you. Boom, right? The belief that you're special and unique, right? You have fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love, right? And this, you're capable of exceptionally high levels of achievement, even when your skills or abilities provide no evidence of it. No evidence. If you look at the U.S., where is the evidence that the U.S. it should lead the world? Has the U.S. brought peace and stability anywhere in the world? I don't want to hear about how rich the U.S. is. The U.S. is not broke. We're not broke. We're $34 trillion in debt. That's far worse than broke. There's a famous I don't know if it's true or not, but it's attributed to Donald Trump that like at one time when he was like bankrupt or something, was it Trump? I think it was Trump or somebody. At any rate, some rich person had gone bankrupt, and they're riding down the road down New York in a limo, and they saw a bum on the side. You know, bum as we say, a homeless person, right? You tell I'm old. I'm still using words like bum. Homeless person on the side, right? And bum implies that it's that person's fault. We don't know that that person's fault on it. So, you know, I don't like to use that word. But at any rate, so they see a homeless person and they said, you know, the difference between me and that person over there? And the driver said, what? And the person said, he's $300 million richer than I am because he's laying on the street with nothing, but I'm 300 million in debt, right? So bottom line is you believe that you can do exceptional things. Tony Blinken, the world should follow us. The world's looking for our leadership. The world wants our leadership. The U.S.-led world order, we blah, blah. Even though when people look at you, they say you're $34 trillion in debt, and everywhere you set foot on this planet, you start a war. What makes you think that you deserve power? Right. And the U.S. is like the U.S.-led world order. If that ain't a fantasy of unlimited success, power, and brilliance, I don't know what is. Hey, the U.S.-led world, we should rule the world, even though we're only 4% of the world, number one. And number two, we can't rule our own country. The people are in the street like, what the hell are we doing in Gaza? Right. We've got the main opposition figure. They've charged him with everything in the world, and they think it's OK. Let's charge Trump with everything we can. Yay. Because we're here to save democracies. And Biden literally now, the Democratic Party says in North Carolina, Tennessee, Massachusetts, and Florida, there will only be one name on the ballot. That's Joe Biden. They won't even put Marianne Williamson's name on the ballot. But they have unlimited ideas of how we should rule the world and spread democracy everywhere except here. So I think we can check off a preoccupation with fantasies of unlimited success. If ruling the world ain't unlimited success, I don't know what it is. And how about this? Oh boy, you're going to rule the world. Yeah, how's your plan in Ukraine to take over Russia working out? Not so well. So the evidence says that the United States is broke, impoverished, our system doesn't work, and our country is run by morons. It's a kakistocracy. Look it up. A kakistocracy is a nation in which or a political system in which the most corrupt, inept bunglers rise to the top. Does that sound like the United States? And yet we do have preoccupations with fantasies of unlimited success. We're going to check off 2. We're 2 for 2 so far. Let's keep going. There's 15 of them. The next thing about a narcissist believes that he or she is special and unique and can only be understood by or should associate with other special or high status people or institutions. This resembles the I want to talk to the manager mindset in that narcissists firmly believe they should only have to deal with the top level person in any institution. They try to insert themselves in high status cliques, meetings, or social groups, even if they're unwanted. So here's the bottom line. Think about the US, the G7, the G20, right? We're so special. How about Joseph Borrell? Remember him? Oh, yes. Well, you know, Europe is the garden and the rest of the world is the jungle. The whole rest of the world is now. But keep in mind, Joseph Borrell is part of the US empire. Joseph Borrell is a one of the junior portions of the empire. The EU is a junior participant in the empire. And in fact, it is a meal of the empire right now because the empire is eating its young to survive. The empire is desperate. The empire is crashing and it's eating its children, namely the countries around the world that fall under the empire. Australia, Japan, South Korea, all of Europe, they're done. The U.S. is going to screw them over to the no, not what. But the bottom line is that we've got a special little group, and we're the jungle. I mean, they're the jungle. We're special. We're unique, and the rest of the. Let's face it, the Muslim world, the Africans, the South Americans, those poor people. I mean, they're certainly not up to our level. God knows the Russians are an genetically inferior species. So yes. The belief that he or she is special and unique and can only be understood by or associate with other special high status people of institutions. Let me go one further. If you look at the U.S. empire, it's even worse than that because nobody has a right to speak. When the U.S. bargains, it's like this. We're going to get a deal with you. Okay, what's the deal? And the U.S. empire works like this. You're going to do everything that we want. Give us everything we want. do everything we tell you to do, and then we'll start bargaining. That's their idea of a bargain. Everybody else is supposed to just give them what they want. That's right. Special and unique. Yeah, we're going to check 3 off there. How about this? 4. These are the 15 traits of the narcissist. And I'm saying the U.S. empire is a narcissist. Trait 4, need for excessive admiration. The narcissist isn't satisfied with a compliment or pat on the back when others offer them as a part of a natural conversation. They demand that others admire their appearance, accomplishments, skills, or existence. The admiration of others is what feeds the narcissist, right? So bottom line is this. Think about Biden. Think about Biden. When someone asked Joe Biden, hey, can we afford 2 wars? What did he say? We're the United States. We're the greatest country in history, the greatest, richest, most powerful country in history. Are you kidding me? The need for excessive admiration. What do you ask? What? You're asking me, should we run everything? You're asking me, can we afford anything? We can afford everything. You're supposed to bow down to our feet and kiss them. Kiss our butts and give us 3 hours to draw a crowd. You're supposed to do whatever we say. Everyone is supposed to admire them. That's an easy one, the need for excessive admiration. And what you see that is internally. The Americans are so friggin' brainwashed. They walk around. Americans walk around. We're the greatest country in the world. We've got freedoms. I don't know if you've been checking it out lately, Americans. They ain't got freedoms. All we had was privileges. You see, if we had freedoms, nobody could come along and take them from you because they're freedoms, right? But if you have privileges, privileges can be revoked, such as freedom of speech. Hey, I don't like what the government's doing. Shut up. You're thrown off Twitter. You're thrown off Facebook. We literally have a guy now that's facing 10 years for a Twitter tweet where it was like a joking tweet during the election, something like, yeah, don't forget to vote on Wednesday. You know, a joke. Right? A joke. And they said, oh, he's trying to do election interference. They want to give this poor schlub 10 years. So here's my question. Where's your freedom? You don't have any. Americans walk around, well, what about China? Ha, ha, ha. We've got freedoms. What about them? They got health care. Where's your freedom in the grave when you die of easily preventable diseases because you don't have health care? But we've got the freedom to, oh, wait, we don't have them anymore, do we? Because they were only privileges. Americans always running around pointing at other countries. They don't have freedoms like us. So if that's all you got to say, they got health care, we don't. We got homeless people, they don't. We got freedoms, oops, we don't. So this narcissism, this need for excessive admiration is an internal thing, more so than anything else. Everybody's got to love us, think we're great. And we have to all run around admiring ourselves. Self-admiration. I live in America. Everybody wants to come here. It's great. You ever been to any other countries? Well, no. But why do I need? This country's so great, I don't even need to go to other countries. Isn't it amazing how many Americans haven't been anywhere and they say this is the greatest country in the world? It's just one big fest of narcissism in the United States where Americans run around, and might I add, even the Americans that admit that this country has gone to crap still somehow think they have a right to criticize other countries. Yeah, what about Russia? Hey, China, you can't do this or that. The government's doing it. Last time I checked, the Chinese has like 90% approval ratings of their people. Like 90% of the people in China support their government. And Americans, who 90% don't and shouldn't, I might add, who understand they're getting screwed, they're getting lied to, all of their privileges are being revoked, and they're run by a bunch of crazy warmongers, somehow still think that this is a better country than any country. If you find a country that this country's better than, I'll put it like this. If you're in a poor country right now, at least you can say they're getting richer or they're staying poor. We're going downhill. We're on the way down. But again, Americans are so, what's the word I want to say? Surrounded. It's like water. It's like they're sunken in a pool of narcissism so much. They've been brainwashed so much that Americans run around, and actually in a country that's up to its ears in debt, in a country that's run by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, in a country that's led by psychotic idiots like Tony Blinken, still think, oh, this is a great country. We have a right to criticize China and Russia and Cuba. We got a right to criticize nobody. Nobody. This country's a crap hole. All right. Next, we're going. So the need for excessive admiration, I would say, yeah, you could argue with me, but I think so. All right, let's go next to 5, sense of entitlement. So we're going to say we got 3.5 out of 5 so far. Narcissists may believe that success takes hard work, but only for others, not for them. They totally believe that they deserved the best tickets, the top score, the nicest room, or the best seat in the house. They don't even have to verbalize this belief, as their behavior and actions clearly communicate their sense of entitlement. Woo, does that sound like the U.S. leadership? That we deserve everything. Because if you really look at it, what does the United States do? They go to these like poorer countries that don't have anything except natural resources, and they say, we want to come in and do business. Oh, by the way, we need your natural resources. Why? Because we deserve them. We got industry. We got all this stuff. What are you going to do with them? You're poor. The reason you're poor is because we've been stealing your natural resources for Spain or France or the UK or one of them been stealing your natural resources for the last 150 years. You're poor, but for the same reason that a person who walks out of a bank with $100 and somebody hits him over the head with a brick and takes his $100, he's poor because somebody robbed him. And most of these countries are poor, not because the people are inferior or whatever, because we rob them, because every single time they get a leader like Patrice Lumumba, I could go with Kwame Nkrumah, I could go with leader after leader. Every time they get a leader, John, what's his name? Aristide in Haiti. Every time they choose a leader, somebody that wants to lead them to a better land, a better world, a better way of living, we overthrow the country and kill them, and then continue to steal their stuff. So we have a sense of entitlement that we have a right to go to your country to tell you what to do, and you got to give us all your stuff. And what's wrong with you? Why don't you want to give us your stuff? All right, next. Interpersonally exploitive behavior. So the narcissist, let's read about that. Narcissists see other people as tools. For instance, Ukraine. What is it, Ukraine? We're going to use Ukraine and we're going to weaken Russia with an entire country. An entire country. We're going to weaken Russia with them. So what happens? 500,000 dead and another million wounded. The entire country impoverished, blown to hell. All these Russians dead. I would call that interpersonally exploitive behavior. Oh, by the way, how about this? We blew up the freaking Nord Stream pipeline. So we've got an interpersonal relationship. These are people that are supposed to be our friends. I've told this story before. It was clearly a narcissist, a sociopath. I'll tell it again from law enforcement. There was a guy, 2 guys are in a car. They're cousins. One of them cashes his check. This was a long time ago when people still got paper checks. Friday, he cashes his check. They work together every day. Every day they work together. One of them cashes his checks, $500. He puts it in a console. They stop at 7-Eleven. He goes in, he gets some cigarettes. He comes out, his $500 is gone. Nobody in the car but his cousin. Everybody knows his cousin took it. Hey, where's my money? Give me my money back. He calls the police. The police come there and he says, look, I don't want my cousin to go to jail, but I'm done with him. He stole my money. Here's what I want. Just give me my money back. And the police, the law enforcement, yeah, it's up to you. If you don't want to press charges, that's fine. Yeah, okay, give me my money. His cousin, I don't know where his money is. Come on, man. Just give me my money back and you can go home. I don't want any trouble. I don't want you to go to jail. You know, he was like, man, I don't want your mother, whatever her name is, to get mad at me for locking you up. You give me my money. I don't know what you're talking about. And basically the police were like, well, I may have been one of them. If you don't give this man his money back, we're going to search you. If we find out, we're locking you up. Okay, search the guy. It's in his sock. That, my friend, is I would call that interpersonally exploitive behavior, wouldn't it? He looked at his cousin, that $500. He didn't care about his cousin. There's $500 there. What did he care? And what did the U.S. do? You know what? Germany may just start taking gas back from Russia, and we don't want them to do that, do we? No. What do you think we should do, Joe? I don't know. What do you think, Vicky? What do you think, Tony? I say we blow the hell out of their pipeline. We're in. Blow it. CIA, come here. Blow that damn pipeline. Germany's no. How dare Germany not listen to what we tell them to do? Interpersonally exploitive behavior. Yeah, but you know, if we do that, all of the people in Europe are going to suffer. Huh? I don't understand what you're saying. Am I supposed to care about all the people in Europe? I don't. Okay. Germany won't do what the hell they said, blow their damn pipeline. Okay. Interpersonally exploitive behavior. I think we've hit all 5 now, but we're going to keep going. Lack of empathy. These are the 13 traits of the narcissism, of narcissists. This is the cold inability to accurately recognize how other people feel. This speaks to the narcissist's lack of emotional awareness or depth. It is not always that narcissists don't care about another's feelings. It's just that they are unaware that others might even have those feelings. They don't give a crap. So, for instance, let's just say somebody said, hey, you're bombing people. You killed 10,000 kids and another 10,000 adults or more. And you've maimed, I don't know how many people are dying under the rubble and they're just being slaughtered and murdered. By the way, you're starving people. You cut off their water, electricity, and food. And the narcissist says, oh, but they won't do what I tell them to do. Lack of empathy. Imagine genocide. For instance, a person with no empathy could easily commit a genocide, couldn't they? Or they could kill thousands of people who were defenseless, men, women, and children, older people, smash their bodies under the rubble. Tell them, hey, do me a favor. If you want to be safe, go over to Elm Street. And over they go to Elm Street. And then call your bombers. Hey, bombers, yeah, bomb Elm Street. That's pretty much a lack of empathy, right? Why? Because why do you have to kill everybody? They're there. I don't have anybody else to kill. That's a complete lack of empathy. Bingo. I think we can put a check mark beside that one. Next, on the 15 list of 15 traits of the narcissist. Envy of others or belief that others are envious of him or her. This describes the narcissist's constant comparison of themselves to others, wishing for themselves the success others experience, and the false belief that everyone else is envious of them. That's how they keep their egos intact. Being perceived as normal or subpar would represent an ego they could not handle. A narcissist might say, everyone notices me when I enter the room. They know that they'll never be as successful as me. I think that's pretty clear. Envious of others or the beliefs that others are envious of them. Everybody wants you, and you'll hear some Americans, well, everybody wants to come to the United States. Not anymore, they don't. You know why? Because they may be shot. Their kids may be shot in school. They may go somewhere to get a cup of coffee, and they're standing around with friends, and some knuckle-dragging moron comes in, some psychopath comes in with a fully automatic military weapon and start spraying the room. No, there may have been a time when people wanted to come to the United States, but this ain't it. There may be a time when people envy the United States. Let's see. Your freedom of speech, shot the hell. And you may get sprayed, and you're going to have to walk over the homeless people. There's poop in the street. Let's face it. I don't think anybody's envious of us anymore, but I'm thinking that unfortunately, the people in America think they are. And of course, the narcissists, of course, Biden, those people are like, they got their arms crossed. Everybody wants to be me. Well, they don't. All right, on we go. We'll go with a half for that one. How about this? 9, listen to this. Well, here's a trait of the narcissist that we're going to see whether it applies to the U.S. empire. Demonstration of arrogant and haughty behaviors or attitudes. Arrogance and conceit are traits that are often noticed first in narcissists. This is evidenced by disrespect for the positions or rights of others and the narcissist's willingness to demand and expect that others will bend to their will. Like exploitative behavior, this behavior can be easily noticed without the narcissist having to say a word. They'll break in lines, they'll use patronizing tones, and act as if they have every right to take away what is rightfully someone else's. Well. Doesn't that sound like the U.S. in everywhere in the world? Let me give you an example. Let's just say there was a country called Syria, and the United States was to say, I think we're going to build some bases in Syria, in the oil fields. And the Syrians said, no, you don't have a right to do that. This is our country. You can't do it. And the U.S. said, like I said, we're going to build some bases in the oil fields. And they built bases in the oil fields. And the Syrians said, I'd like you to leave. This is our country. And the U.S. said, we don't have to leave. You know why? Because you can't make us. We're so powerful. Arrogant and haughty behaviors or attitudes. I can do whatever I want anytime I want. And then the U.S. will go, hey, Russia, you can't invade anybody. Hey, you can't invade anybody. You can't do this. What are you doing? Example. The U.S. literally said to which islands was it? Not the Marshall Islands. One of these, a small group of islands, 7,000. What I do remember, it's 7,341 miles from U.S. But it ain't that far from China. China signed a deal with the Solomon Islands. China signed a deal that their ships could stop there, refuel, get water, stuff like that. The U.S. then says might be a red line for us. We will not rule out taking military action against the Solomon Islands if they sign a deal that allows China their military vessels to stop at the Solomon Islands. Is that arrogant? So what we say is this: China's first of all, Taiwan, which the United States recognizes as a part of China. We recognize it as a part of China. Officially, the State Department says we recognize China as Taiwan as a province of China. But China doesn't have a right to do whatever they want with Taiwan, which is a part of China. And by the way, this group of islands that's not far from China, called the Solomon Islands, they don't have the right or authority to sign any kind of deal they want with China, because we'll kill them. We won't rule out. I can show you the article. We won't rule out military action. We'll kill them. Oh, wait a minute. Country over there, you can't invade that country. You can't attack that country. You can't do this. You can't draw red lines there. Russia, you can't draw a red line on your border on Ukraine, but we can draw a red line 7,300 miles from our border in Solomon's Island and go to war and attack the Solomon's Island. Talk about mafia and kill them. Is that a demonstration of arrogant and haughty behaviors or attitudes? You tell me. Let's keep going. All right. So it says, what do we got? In addition to the currently 9 symptoms, an alternative model of diagnosis personality disorders was proposed. This model is characterized by 4 specific areas of functioning in which personality disorders are most likely to be located, right? So let's start going here. Identity. For narcissists, this is an excessive focus on others to support their own self-definition and excessive reference on others as a means to maintain their own self-esteem, as well as overly estimated self-appraisal and a tendency to be overly pleased or inordinately displeased with oneself. For narcissism, it's not what's inside that matters. It's what outsiders perceive when they gaze on the narcissist that shapes their identity. You will hear this all the time from the neocons. Well, China said this, or this country, we don't want to look weak. Well, the president can't do that because we'll look weak. We can't do that. We want to look strong, not weak. In other words, we're concerned about how we look, our identity. I don't want to look weak, or I don't want to look strong. I want to be weak or be strong. I don't want to look. I'm not concerned with what I am. It's the difference between reality and identity, right? For instance, a person can work out and be the best in the best of shape, the best of physical condition, and they can look tough. But inside, they can be the weakest person in the world. And I've known people like that. A person can look weak and they can be a 60. Look, my instructor, that dude was about 6 foot, about 155 pounds max. Okay. Skinny guy, in excellent condition, skinny guy. You wouldn't touch him. He'd kill you. You put a finger on him, he'd kill you. He'd kill you so fast, you wouldn't have a chance to think about how quick you'd. 6-degree black belt. You do that, he's going to break your fingers. He's going to yank your groin off. He's going to pull your eyes out, snap your necks, clap your ears. It's just unthinkable things. He looks weak. I mean, he looks like he's in good shape, but he looks skinny, and he's an older guy now. He's in his upper 60s. I still wouldn't advise you to put your hands on this guy, because if you do, the likelihood that you're going to come out healthy is extremely low. So how you look is irrelevant. And what do people teach you when it comes to self-defense? Hey man, I don't want any trouble. You're not trying to look tough or look strong. Hey man, I don't want no trouble. Put your hands out. I don't want any trouble, right? You defensively, you can protect yourself. You can do all kinds of things, but you're not trying to look bad and tough. In fact, when you put your hands up like that, it's a demonstration. Look, I have no weapons. I don't want any trouble. That open hand, I don't want any trouble. I'm not trying to look bad or tough. In fact, what am I trying to look? I'm trying to look non-threatening. Hey, man, I don't want no trouble. You see my palms? There's no weapons in them. right? Now I'm going to turn sideways, right? So I don't give you as much surface to strike and things like that. They're going to be calculated actions here, right? But that open hand says, no weapons. I don't want any trouble. The identity that I'm trying to portray to you is not an identity of weakness, but a non-threatening identity, right? So to me, what you want to do in international politics, right, in geopolitics, is present a non-threatening identity, not a weak identity. Hey, man, I don't want any trouble. If you look at my stance, I'm looking at you. I'm turned sideways. My feet are set the way I want them to set. I'm ready to move. I'm ready to act. So I am aware of my surroundings, what's around me. Maybe I backed up near a wall so somebody can't grab me from behind. All of these things. I've scoped out how I can get away, where everything. I've looked you up and down. What do you have? Is there a lump in your belt? Might you have a gun? All full evaluation, self-awareness of what I need to do to get out of this interaction alive. But the bottom line is this: I ain't trying to look like a badass. I'm trying to look non-threatening and let you know, but I'm not trying to look weak or strong. Non-threatening, ready to go. But if you act, I'm ready to act defensively. Right? Always, you'll hear from the neocons. You'll see this on TV. You'll listen to CNN, MSN. Well, blah, blah, blah does that. But the president doesn't want to look weak. An let me put it like this: pathologically concerned with how you look to others as opposed to how you are. We want to look like we're all that. Well, $34 trillion in debt. We ain't strong. Let's continue. Self-direction. Narcissists tend to keep their eyes on the prize that they feel others would prize. They are driven by a desire to prove they are superior to others. This drive is often coupled with a sense of entitlement that leaves them feeling that they should be above having to work for any goal, right? So we're the US and we're capitalists. Capitalism works better than socialism. We all know that, don't you know? So we don't have to do anything. You're not allowed to be a socialist because, well, here's the bottom line. China's a socialist with some capital, some market, some this, tightly controlled, kind of a hybrid system. It's working for them, working better than what we got right now, because they ain't $34 trillion in debt. And here's the bottom line. The only thing we can say to them is, you don't have enough freedoms. A, it's none of our business. And B, neither do we. But we have to say that ultimately, we can decide, not only keep our eyes on the prize, we decide what the prize is. The prize is democracy and freedom, even though we don't have it at home. It's all a fraud, right? All right. And so we should be above. I'll put it like this. China seems to me like they've worked hard over the last 30 or 40 years as a nation, as a government, etc., to get where they are. And what we're saying is this: we should have it. Even though we've done everything wrong, we should still have more than China. We should still be above China. They busted their ass, and we sat around like a bunch of narcissists tend to do, expecting because capitalism works so wonderful, everything will fall. We've got the free market. Everything will fall into our lap. Nothing's fallen into our lap. Everything's fallen out of our lap because neoliberal capitalism is a self-serving racket that only extracts money from the poor and puts it in the hands of the rich. And one could argue that's what capitalism does. It doesn't matter what words you use. It doesn't matter. The bottom line is we see the outcome. Don't tell me what capitalism does. I can see it for myself. If you have a system, don't tell me how well that system works. I can look at the results and I can tell you how well that system works. And whatever the hell you call the system that we got, it works very well to extract money from the working class and put it in the hands of the poor. And then eventually you get where we are. And where we are now is the average person on the street is struggling. People can't make it. People are homeless. People are upset. People are upset with the direction of the country. But now we have a government we have concentrated economic power into the hands of a small group of people, which means they took that economic power and used it to buy the government. So that same small clique that has all the economic power owns the government. So now we got a government that does not work for us at all, doesn't represent us. It represents the ruling elite class. And maybe that's what state governments are meant to do anyway, but damn sure this is what this one does. But we don't have to do anything right. Everything's just supposed to fall into our lap because we're the United States. We're the best. We're the great. We're wonderful. Just ask us. We'll tell you. Don't look at how things are working out for us, though. Do not look at that. Do not look at that. And we've all seen this in life. We've all known people. We've been around people that said, yeah, I'm the smartest. I'm the greatest. I'm this. I'm that. I'm the most wonderful. And you look at that person and you're like, your life is crap. You're I've always was the smartest guy and the best at this and the greatest at this and the finest at this. And you look at that person and you're like, well, I'm not the smartest or greatest, but like I got a roof over my head. You're homeless, for God's sake. You look at somebody whose life is crap and they think they're the greatest and you're doing better than they are and you're inferior to them. Pretty much a sign of a narcissist. All right. Self-direction. Narcissists. Oh, wait a minute. We already did that. So that was self-direction. All right. Next. Okay. Empathy. We've already touched on it, but let's do it. Let's go in depth into this. This area of functioning is what allows humans to connect with and understand the plights of others. Unfortunately, narcissists only reference to the reactions or actions of others as they relate to the narcissist's own behavior, right? The narcissist doesn't care about you, only you as to how it relates to their behavior. Let me give you an example. If you want to know if somebody's a narcissist, let me give you a clear example. You know what a narcissist hates? When their partner gets sick, because they don't have empathy. If you have somebody, your significant other, brother, friend, and you're like, oh man, I don't feel good, and they're like, oh, let me help you. Oh, that's terrible. There, can I send you some chicken soup? I don't know, whatever the hell, right? Whatever they can do, offer to, hey, let me know, what can I do for you? It's your significant other, and they're like, hey, here, look, you probably should stay home. Let me go out and get you some juice. Is there anything I can do for you? I'm really sorry that you're feeling bad. Maybe I can help you out. They're going to try to raise you up. Empathy, right? They're concerned. What's the narcissist say? They're mad when you get sick. Why? Because they're like, example, I know somebody that said they had a girl they were dating and they were supposed to spend like a weekend together. And the girl comes to their house and gets there. This is a real good friend of mine. And this was many years ago. So gets to their house and they're like, and this guy had been hit with like a flu, some kind of a flu, knocked him in the butt. And it kind of knocked him down and he's laying there and he's, he's sniffling whatever, saying, you probably don't need to come over because I'm not feeling good, right? The girl comes over and sees him. He's like, and now they're supposed to like spend the weekend doing something or whatever, right? He's like, I'm sick as a dog. I don't feel good. I'm crap, man. I'm not doing well. And she hit the ceiling. She was angry. She let him have it because he was sick. And of course, that was the end of the relationship for him. But what did that tell us? She was only concerned about him as to how it related to her. Your job is to feed my needs. I was planning on having a great weekend. And here you are sick. There's no empathy to say, oh, you don't feel good. Oh, maybe I can help you out. Oh, can I? No. You would have to have empathy. You would have to think about that person. The narcissist just says, damn you. You're sick. And I wanted you to do things with me. You screwed up my weekend, right? You screwed up my weekend. They only care of what you can do for them as long as you can do it. So they don't have empathy, right? Unfortunately, narcissists only reference to the reactions or actions of others as they relate to the narcissist's own behavior. Even these readings of others are out of focus as narcissists aren't able to accurately assess their effects on others. They may attend to someone's expressed feelings in order to leverage the person to the narcissist's own benefit, right? But there's no awareness that goes beyond that. So the narcissist may be able to. The narcissist screws up and you're mad at them. And now they can't get something they want, sex. They can't get sex. You're like, God damn it, I wanted sex. I can't get sex. Now the narcissist goes out. I know how I'll get sex. They go out the flowers. I'm sorry, I was wrong. How could I have done such a terrible thing to you? I'll never do it again. Please forgive me. And you're like, really? And you're thinking, hey, I guess I'm a guy, so I'd say, hey, she really feels bad. And she's bringing me flowers and doing all kinds of nice things. What a dear, sweet woman. And then she says, well, I'm sorry, darling. Okay, thanks. Now can we have sex? The bottom line was the narcissist only wanted, they didn't give a crap about you. They didn't feel sorry that they pissed you off, that they treated you like dirt. They didn't feel sorry about anything. They formulated a plan so they could get what it is that they wanted. money, sex, food, anything. They formulated a plan so they could get what they wanted. And their only way of evaluating your actions is, how does your actions, your thoughts, your feelings affect my ability to get what I want from you? And they can apologize. They can make a deal with you. I promise I'll never do it again. I promise I'll go. I promise I'll go to church if you want me to go to church. I'll go to your mother's house. I'll do whatever you want. The narcissist will promise you anything. It's easy to promise people things when you're not concerned about following through. I can promise you the world if I have no intention to follow through. If I'm only promising it to you now in the current conversation because I want something from you right now. And then the next day when I do the opposite, you say, Garland, you promised me you'd never do that again. Hey, why are you bugging me? I don't care that I made that promise yesterday. Yesterday's gone. I made that promise yesterday so I could get what I wanted yesterday. Now, I don't remember that promise. I could care less. I have no empathy for you. I don't care if you're upset. I don't care if you're angry because I didn't follow through with my promise. I don't care. I got no empathy. Give me what I want, right? Now, let me give you an example. It's an interesting example. I have heard it enough from people who I trust enough that I believe this, that Ukraine, that apparently when the Russians and the Ukrainians set up a deal, right? And when they set up the deal to stop, we could argue whether or not it was going to go through anyway, but this happened. They set a deal, signed a deal. Boris Johnson, at the behest of Biden, went to them and said, hey, don't do this deal. And apparently they told Ukraine, look, just fight. That was the words, just fight. No, let's just fight, right? Number one. And number two, if you do that, that we will support you until victory, that we will continue to support you. We'll give you what you need no matter what until this thing ends, and we're going to win and we'll keep helping you, right? And apparently Zelensky was like, yeah, thanks. It was a lie. They never intended to. It was a heartbreaking liar's promise. But the narcissist said it because at the time they wanted Zelensky to keep fighting. Because Zelensky's like, man, we got this giant Russian army on the border and we ain't going to be able to defeat them. They're going to kick our ass and I'll probably be killed and God only knows what will happen. Maybe captured, maybe tried. I don't want to do that. We got a deal. If you just turn that deal down, we promise you we'll continue to support you. Now, apparently, the last thing Biden said was they changed it from we'll support them until the end to we'll support you as long as we can, but you're going to have to learn to be. In other words, they changed it. Now, when Zelensky goes back to the narcissist empire and says, hey, you made a promise, they're going to be like, I understand what you're saying. They don't care that they made a promise. At the time, they made the promise because they wanted you to keep fighting, not because they were ever going to keep the promise. No. The narcissist wants something from you at that time. They'll promise you any damn thing that you ask for. Why not? It is easy to make a promise when you have no intent on keeping the promise. That's why Sergei Lavrov said about the U.S. empire, their agreement incapable. Well, he was right in that they're incapable. You're right in that the narcissist is incapable of making an agreement, right? But I'd put it a little different this way. They're incapable of maintaining an agreement. They'll make the agreement. So their agreement incapable in that if you say the agreement entails both making the agreement, right? Both saying I'm committed to this and carrying it out, that ain't happened. They'll commit to anything. Hey, just trust us. We'll do what you want. All right. Hey, things have changed. We ain't doing what you want anymore, but you promised. Yeah, shut up and leave us alone. Who cares? We're the U.S. We can do whatever we want. Then it gets back to arrogance, haughtiness, right? It gets back to entitlement. Yeah, sure, we didn't make a deal, but we're the United States. We don't have to keep deals. We're much powerful and more important than a measly little deal with the likes of you. Shut up. We don't need you anymore. Besides, we view you as nothing but a tool. Ukraine is nothing but a policy tool to the U.S. empire, to the narcissistic empire. That's all. It's not a country. They're not people. It is a policy tool. They have no concern about those people, and they're throwing them to the garbage. And some of them are, here's what I'm saying. They're going to wake up at some point, and they're going to realize it. All right, let's go to the last one. Intimacy. This is where the narcissist's true nature and shortcomings often hurt others the most. Narcissists are unable to forge or maintain more than superficial relationships. They don't. Okay, let me go this. I remember when they said Trump is screwing up our relationships with our allies in Europe. Relationships. We've got an intimate relationship with Germany, a special relationship, a great relationship with Germany. They're our allies. They're our friends. As soon as they turned their back and started to do one thing we didn't want, we blew up their pipeline and wiped out their economy, deindustrialized them. They're done. Passed the, it's called the Inflation Reduction Act, which is basically, it should be called the Steal All of the Industry from Europe Act, where we're literally stealing. We're impoverishing and stealing the industry from Germany. And the German leadership is like, yeah. Of course, the German leadership is not German leadership. They're U.S. empire quislings. And they know that their job is, if they're told by their masters in Washington, D.C., to completely screw over the people in their country, that they know their job is to do it. Let me go down just a smidgen. Okay, and they're going to damn do it. So narcissists are unable to forge or maintain more than superficial relationships. They don't have the emotional capacity to relate in authentic, intimate ways. Every relationship is seen as a tool to feed the narcissist ego. Let me ask you this. We got a special relationship with the UK, right? We always hear that, the special relationship with the UK, right? How's the UK faring right now? How are they doing right now? How's their special relationship working out for them, right? You got to ask yourself, I've talked about this in other videos, right? If you want to judge your relationship with someone else, look at the outcomes. You know, I did the discussion about somebody that I grew up with who was just drinking and partying and cavorting and chasing women, which at the time I was doing the same thing, right? We were in their 20s, but let's just say he was taking it a bit further than I were, especially the drinking part. And he met a nice girl. And you've heard the story. She calmed his ass down. She got him to stop drinking like a fish, stop drinking, period, which he needed to do. And she got him the, you know, education, job, and he turned into, she made something out of that poor bastard. You know, congratulate her. I don't know how she put up with him, but she took that slime bag and turned him into a pretty decent fellow, right? And I can look at that relationship, and many people in the family around, say, thank God you saved this guy, right? You turned, how'd you work a miracle on this guy, right? But you did. And he says the same thing. Man, I wasn't going anywhere, right? Straight to hell, prison or something for drunk driving. But at any rate, so you judge your relationship, your intimate relationships on the outcome. Where is it? If you meet someone, some guy starts dating a girl and he wakes up, 6 months later and he looks and now, he's now using drugs and he's now lost his job and things are going bad for him and he's estranged from his family. You can judge that relationship. Wow, since I started dating her, everything's gone bad. Maybe it's the fact that she's a meth head. I wonder if that has anything to do with it, right? So my point being this, intimacy, right? The narcissist is unable to forge or maintain more than superficial relationships. Look at the relationships that the United States has. Let's see. We got a relationship with Ukraine, Israel, Taiwan. They better watch their ass, right? If you have a relationship with the U.S. empire, you're screwed. You're screwed, blued, and tattooed. The U.S. does not, anybody who's supposed to be an ally of the U.S. need only look at Germany. How's the relationship with U.S. working out for Germany? Look at the U.K. It's impoverished. It's going to hell. U.K. is going to hell. All of Europe, our allies in Europe. Remember, they said Trump's going to screw up the relationship with our allies in Europe. Let's just say this. Both us and our allies in Europe were better under Trump. I'm not saying I'm pro-Trump. I'm a lefty. I know pro none of them. I'm just saying the idea that these narcissists say Trump's going to drag things down. They got in power. What did they do? They attacked our, quote, allies in Europe and impoverished the rest of them, and they're robbing them all of their industrial power. So the narcissists, they don't even have a superficial relationship. They just smile in their face. As there was an old saying, a song called "The Backstabbers" by the OJs. It said they smile in your face all the while they want to take your place. Right? That's it. They're smiling. Yes, boy, Germany, you shall. Olaf Scholz, you're a good guy. Oh, that's some nice looking industry you got over there. Let me go over there and talk to the heads of your industry. Maybe they want to move over here. Oh, they got a lot of cheap energy, huh? So they won't move. Hold my beer. We'll take care of that. Right? Conclusion. If you're concerned that someone you care about, the U.S. empire, has less interest in you than they do in themselves, but won't let go, step back and look objectively at the traits that serve as the markers for narcissistic personality disorder. Not everyone who focuses on their own success or struggles developing authentic, intimate relationships is a narcissist. It's up to clinical professionals to diagnose the disorder. But if concerns about your relationships get in your way of your own healthy function, you may want to seek help from a counselor on your own. So there we go. We have gone over the traits of narcissism, and I think, I may be wrong, I believe that I have made the case that the US empire is a narcissistic empire, that it's by its very nature, this empire is narcissistic, that meets all of the qualifications for narcissism, that I would argue we met 15 out of the 15 and probably 16, and there's only 15. It's fairly obvious if you're on the receiving end of the US empire that this is a narcissistic empire. Therefore, the US empire as a narcissistic empire, doesn't it only stand to reason that it would have narcissists running things? Doesn't it only stand to reason that it would have narcissists like Tony Blinken, who will talk about his children and murder lots of other little ones? It's interesting. I was thrown off Twitter the first time for making a comment about Tony Blinken wanting to kill Palestinians with his bare hands, right? I made a comment about that, right? How far was I from the truth if you really think about it? If you look at what's going on now, right? He might as well. So he is the perfect, we may look at Newland, we may look at Blinken and Biden and the rest of these friggin' neocons and say they're out of their minds and blah, 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 which they are. They're incompetent, hapless bunglers, which they are. They're psychopaths, which they are. But in a psychopathic, narcissistic empire, they are an expression of it. There was a famous book. I mean, who was it that said that? Damn it. I can't think of his name right now. Was it Aldous Huxley? No. At any rate, anyway, I can't think of who it was now, but what they said was this: you show me any book, I can read a couple pages and tell you within 10 years when it was written, based on the things that the type of phrases they use. Is it an Edwardian phrase? Is it a phrase from the Baroque period? What period of, how do they phrase their words? What are they talking about? Who's the good guys? Who's the bad guys, right? You can listen to how people, and you can say this writing was an expression of that period. That person's thought process was an expression of the way people thought at that time, right? 1,000 gourds from a single vine, right? The way people talk, etc., is an expression of that time period. Okay. If you, an example, when I learned this in sales, I did a lot of study. I was a good salesperson, and I learned something because I learned how to study people. And what I learned is, let's say I go to a business. At that time, it was like cameras, networks, security stuff. Like if you had a guy that had a bunch of car dealers, and he needed cameras on his car dealers, and he wanted to be able to see them from anywhere. He wanted to be at home, and he had 6, 7 car dealerships, and he wanted to be able to, look on his phone or go to his computer at home and look at what's going on at the various car dealerships. He had a car, $120,000 car that had been stolen from one of his dealerships. He wanted cameras on at night, blah, 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 right? And I said, hey, we can do this, blah, 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 do all the cameras. But what did I want to do? When I wanted to get to this guy's house, I want to get in his office. Why? Because I want to look around. What do I see there? Oh, there we go. At the time, it's like, hey, he's a Redskins fan. Oh, he's the Washington Nationals weren't there yet. What is it? What sports teams does he like? Oh, there's something there. He likes yachting. Oh, there's something there. I'm gonna look around. Oh, there's pictures of his kids. Looks like that's his wife. That's his kids. Oh, there's something, a Bible. He's religious, right? I want to look around this guy's office. I want to look in this guy's house. I want to get in his space. Why? Because it tells me about him. Get in his cars, it's spotless clean as there's stuff all over the place, right? I want to look around and I want to learn about this guy, because if I'm going to sell to him, I got to understand who he is. And everything around him, his space, the way he sets it up, is an expression of him. And when you walk in, somebody walk in right now, they look at, hey, well, let's look at what Garland has. They're going to see books, right? Look at this. They're going to see a hat. Genocide Joe. That tells you. They're going to see a Biden bomb Nord Stream. They're going to tell you something. That guy probably doesn't look like, but they're going to look over here. Well, look at this. Somebody made this for me. A little peace cup. It says, we cannot prepare for war and hope to have peace, right? They're going to see that kind of stuff. They can, Paul Robeson. Well, what do you know? What kind of books does the Garland have? Capitalism Hits the Fan by Richard Wolff. The Phoenix Program, right? Israel's Secret Wars, The Rotten heart of Europe, you're going to see all of these things, fascism in the far right, right? You're going to look at those books and you can learn about Garland and you can understand who I am by looking at those things, right? So why? Because all of these things around me are an expression of me. What kind of clothes do I? What color? What kind of car do I have? All those are expression of me, right? Is it a little old beat up junker? Is it a sports car? Is it a convertible red sports? All of these things tells you about this person. Are they outgoing? Is it a tan, brown, or dull colored Honda Accord or Camry? That tells you. Or is it a hopped up BMW M series or something, right? All these things. These are expressions of that person. And that's what we're talking about. And that when I say that, that's why when I say, if you look at the U.S. empire, the leadership that we have right now, they are an expression of the empire. Their expression of where the empire is in this time period. Their expression of the ideology driving this empire. So when you look at Biden, he's an idiot. You look at Kamala Harris, perfectly. Both of those people are about as bright as a wet match in a dark cave, okay? You look at those people and say, so that means the empire expresses itself as stupid, as really, really stupid. And look at Biden stumbling around. He don't know what the hell. Oh, what do I do next? How do I get off this stage? You ever see him do that? He finishes a speech of some kind. I just saw one the other day, and his arms were both like this, like a robot. And he walks off to the stage, to the corner of the stage, and he goes, like, oh, is this where I'm supposed to be? I'm not sure where I'm supposed to be. You're standing on the side of the stage, dude. There's no steps there. That's not where you're supposed to be. But he can't figure that out. Perfect expression of the empire. They never know what to do. Hey, what's happening? Well, we've got our bases got bombed in Iraq. What do? Number one, we got to look tough because we're concerned with how we look, not what works, not what the most appropriate thing to do, not let's play chess and figure out what the best chess move is. We're concerned as a narcissist with our identity. We got to look tough. Let's go bomb somebody. Who? Yeah, whoever. I don't care. Somebody, bomb somebody. We got to look tough. There's Joe Biden. We did it. We don't know why we did it. We bombed it. We don't know why, because we want to look tough. Who knows? Joe Biden is the perfect expression of the empire. Meanwhile, what do you got? Hiding in the background, you got Victoria Nuland running around doing her evil works undercover. Nobody knows what Victoria Nuland's doing, but we know it's evil. Jake Sullivan, what's he doing? I don't know, but I know it's evil, and it's related to war somewhere, and it's going to cause mayhem and terrible things, right? Look, the United States comes home to its own people. What are you doing? We're spreading democracy around the world. That's a lie. We're not spreading any democracy. We're trying to take over the world in one of the most overtly fascist manners that this world has seen since that Austrian guy with the funny looking mustache. We're literally arming people who worship the Austrian guy with the mustache, and the other people we're arming are committing genocide. But we're the good guys. Don't forget that. The leaders, if you want to know why we got idiots, people with dementia, and evil people like Nuland and Sullivan running around, it's because they are the perfect expression of the empire. They're like Garland Nixon. If you walked in this office when I wasn't here and you saw that Genocide Joe hat, you'd say, I got a feeling this guy don't like Joe Biden. Probably not a Democrat. Maybe he's a Republican, which I ain't. And then you'd look over there and you'd say, capitalism hits the fan. Paul Robeson, fascism in the far right. Probably not a Republican, probably not a right winger. Probably Ray over there on the left, right? You can look at my books. What do we got over here? The Quotable Rebel. Let's see what else here. What do we got here? Introducing Evolutionary Psychology, the book by Alan Watts. Oh, this is great. Oh, this is really good. I forgot about this. Descartes' Error. That's awesome. Fascism and the Social Revolution. Oh, let me tell you a book, though. Let me tell you something you really, if you want to get one, not to get sidetracked. Arundhati Roy, And the name of it is Public Power in the Age of Empire. Oh, what a great, fantastic little booklet here. Arundhati Roy, Public Power in the Age of Empire. I will recommend this. It's a small book. But what does that tell you? Empire. And I have this for many, many years, right? So what am I saying? I'm saying that you can look around here and these things represent me. And you could do that with anybody, with their clothes. Look at their haircut. Look at the kind of glasses they got on. Look at everything about people and all of these things. If somebody paints a picture, if somebody writes a song, read the song. Look at the picture. They're expressing who they are. You can learn a lot from everything we do as an expression. When somebody makes a sandwich, you can look at the sandwich. Is it neat? Is it jumbled? Is stuff all over the place? Did they take their time? Did they cut it carefully? Or did they just take it and just rip the sandwich in half? All these things tells you about a person, right? The U.S. empire, if you want to understand the U.S. empire, look at the people that it sends up to a high place to represent it. They're evil bastards. They're narcissistic. They're incompetent, hapless bunglers. That's the empire we got. It's $34 trillion in debt. You don't get that being competent. And you got to be real incompetent to get $34 trillion in debt. And you got to be real greedy when you got a small group of people who are getting all of the money and everybody else gets nothing. All right. Well, thanks a lot, everybody. Let's see. We're going to go to the top and we're going to look. We don't have a whole lot of super chats, but we might have one. Chicken Patty's in the house, as always. Let's look. This was a lot of fun. Thank you for the information and the laughs. Oh, thank you, Tara Knight. What a great name. Tara is one of those names. You know what? Tara is one of those names. So when I was growing up in the burbs, right, there were certain names. A lot of women might not know this. There are certain names that guys assume are like really good looking women. Well, it's not necessarily true, but guys know what I'm talking about, right? Names like Tara, Heather, Jennifer, names like that, right? Guys always, hey, you want to meet a girl? I don't know, what's her name? Heather. Whoa, Heather, hey, oh, get me there. You know what I mean? It's guys. We're not very bright, but we listen to the name. But maybe, based on everything that I have said, I don't know. All right, let's keep going. You know how I'm ADD, so I get so sidetracked. Don't look up the symptoms of ADD. You'll find a picture of Garland. That's what you'll find. I think that is it, dear and beautiful Tara. I can't even see a picture, but you're beautiful. Don't matter what, I'm sure you are. All right, let's go. In every way. So let's see. Rockfin. First people, government. That's interesting. U.S. government. Oh, wait a minute. Says U.S. Gov and co-root cause of terror. Oh, U.S. government and company are the root cause of terrorism in the world. Your first people, government, you are 100%, brother. You are on it. That's it. All right. Well, since I don't have any more super chats, I'll just look for a couple of people that I can talk to. Let's see. What did someone say today? You realize how absent of content that is, right? Reference anything in real. Oh, I just stepped into an argument. So that's the fallen cop was a dude they thought was a friend, was really undercover. Oh gosh. I love the chat. Somebody says, I would rather see a presidential candidate Myers-Briggs Jung typology screen than I would their freaking tax return. Good point, Kinky. Kinky's brilliant. I've done the old Myers-Briggs before. I did one of these tests. So we did the brain typing tests. I don't know if it's Myers-Briggs, but there's one of them that you've got like your type 1, 2, 3, or 4 or whatever. And when I was in law enforcement and I did a lot of stuff, one of the things I did was I was a commander of the training division. And I had to do this course, train the trainer. So I taught, I could teach people how to be an instructor in a police academy, right? Since I ran the academy, we may identify somebody who wants, or somebody may come and say, I want to be an instructor. They don't know how to be an instructor. I need to be able to teach them how to be an instructor, to teach them how to write a curriculum, teach the course, grade, make up tests, everything, right? And so one of the things we did in that course was these several different, Myers-Briggs was one of them, several different brain typing things, right? And there was like 1, 2, 3. So bottom line is this, it was all cops. And almost all the cops were whatever number it is, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. Most of all of the cops were like the same. That was like, they were like whatever number would be like an accountant. You know what I mean? They were like, everything's right or wrong, black or white, good or bad, right? And I was a type 4. Basically, in a nutshell, mine was the hippie. Mine was the hippie. I was the hippiest of mine was the hippiest of hippie guys, right? The guy that thinks about, screw that. I was the guy, I used to drive people crazy. I'll never forget. Just chatting a little bit at the end. I drove people crazy because of the way I thought, right? I remember one time I was a captain and one of his lieutenants came to me and one of our officers had stopped to do something that was critical. He's coming home. He sees something. He acts on it. And he put in for overtime. And the lieutenant said, work for me, right? The lieutenant said, look, I'm not going to grant him the overtime. And I said, why? He said, because according to our manual, right now, you must call your sergeant. He was a corporal. He had to call his sergeant to get the overtime approved. He acted. He didn't do that. I said, but wait a minute. He's riding down the road and he sees something he has to act on to help somebody else, and he acts on it. He didn't have time to call and ask. Let's be logical. Well, I understand that, Captain Nixon, you're right. But the manual says what the manual says. And I can't grant him the overtime. I said, okay, well, then I'll grant him the overtime. Number one, hand it to me. I signed his time card. And I said, look, the manuals don't work for us. I said, we don't work for these manuals. They work for us. I don't give a damn what the manual says. We got to use our brains. The reason you have a judge in court, ideally, is so that when you present everyone to it, somebody can scratch their head and use wisdom. Now, it doesn't work, but that is the idea, that somebody listens to it and says, all right, let's figure this out, what makes sense, right? I had plenty of times when I had a bunch of cops working for me and that some of them would have a dispute and I'd call them in the office. And I couldn't just say, here's what the manual says, because sometimes there was no manual. Two cops ain't getting along. I have to talk to them. Sometimes I threaten them. Hey, you guys, if you don't start getting along, I'm transferring you each to the furthest regions of the state. Sometimes that's the only thing people understand. There were other times I could do other things, but I had to act, right? But my point is this, but I wasn't one of those guys that said, the manual in page 17, section 403.9 clearly says blah, 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 blah. And I'd say, well, I'm clearly telling you that ain't what we're doing today, because that ain't in the best interest of what we need to do. I was the hippiest of hippie guys, right? I was a kind of a philosophical open thinker. Let's not be bound by manuals. Do you know how that drives cops crazy? When you got a bunch of cops working for you and you're like an open thinker and you're like, yeah, we will not be bound by manuals. Some of these guys are ready to jump and throw their bodies in front of a tractor. My God, what did you say, man? We're not bound by manuals. I remember another instance. So a lot of people know I used to be on the National Board of Directors for the American Civil Liberties Union. And so you're in a room full of lawyers and law professors, or legal scholars for the most part. You know, you had some law professors, very legal scholars, a few people that weren't here and there, but everybody had some legal law background. And I remember one time, I think it was me, but might have been somebody else. I don't recall, but we had a meeting. And what we determined was, look, we're having trouble getting things done. It doesn't always work in the best interest. We use Robert's Rule of Order, and sometimes somebody will say something, right? And they'll say, I propose X. And maybe because they're new, they don't have a lot of people support them yet, though people don't know them yet. In order to bring that to the floor for discussion, we got to have a second under Robert's Rules of Order. And we'd say, do we have a second? And nobody seconds it. And it's maybe a good idea. Maybe it deserves this discussion, but this is a new person. And maybe we don't even understand their idea well enough to know that it needs discussion, right? So somebody's proposal, I don't remember, it might have been me, this was several years ago, was, look, how about if we decide that we're going to relax Robert's Rules of Order somewhat so that, you know, we can get there's several other instances where Robert's Rules of Order kind of like holds us up a little bit. So maybe we can, how about if we come up with an idea where if someone can motion to relax Robert's Rules of Order for a particular period or a particular discussion, and then we can do it, and then off we go, right? So we can find a way to get around this if we find that it holds us up. There were lawyers and law professors in there that you could see the tension and anxiety. Oh my God, did that crazy man just say relax Robert's Rules of Order? And I remember asking somebody, saying, yeah, might be a good idea. Well, what is it that bothers you, that upsets you so much about relaxing Robert's Rules of Order? And I was literally got this answer. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I just don't think we should do it. And I'm like, you're a lawyer. That ain't a good answer. You should know as an attorney that Why should we do X? I don't know. Yeah. I said, you sound like me. I'm a hippie. And I say things like, I don't know, it just don't feel right. Now, when I say that, the attorney, the attorneys, law professors, all the other people in the room would go, oh, it don't feel right. My God, you're talking about intuition. We're not allowed to use intuition, just the facts. We got to go by the data, empirical data, nothing else, right? So when I say, it doesn't feel right, then they freak out. But when I say perhaps we should relax the standards of Robert's rules, just dismiss so we can, you can see them. Oh my God! People they're fashioning a rope to hang around their neck and throw it over the beam. They're going to hang themselves on the spot. They can't handle it because they're so inured to the system, and they believe that if they don't have this, that they're going to flip out and they're not going to be able to handle it. And my thing is this, screw the system. And that's where I am now. And when the system don't work, you see where I'm going? When the system don't work, when the system's narcissistic, it needs to be changed. All right, let me see if there's anything else. All right, I think that's it. I think everybody's done. I think I'm done. I think I'm toast. I went from making sense to running off at the mouth about history. Is it possible to change a narcissist? Let me say this. Possible, but not probable. Possible, but not probable. Anyone can, people can change. Human beings can change. But the narcissist has to accept that they have a problem. You want to stop out, drinking or something, you got to say, hey, maybe I drink too much and I need to stop and I want to change, right? If somebody drinks or uses alcohol or drugs or something, right? So if a person who is a narcissist wants to change, they can change. Anybody can change, but it ain't easy. Remember, because we're talking about how you're wired now. This is hardwired, right? When your brain literally makes, when this happens, you think that. And that is not just a thought. Your brain literally makes a neural pathway. When this happens and you react that way over here, this part of the brain, it literally forms a new pathway, a river, a neural pathway from this to that. So when this happens, you do that. You don't think about it. So the metaphors in your brain are physical. So you really, for somebody to change anything, they're going to have to get around the physical metaphors, little rivers, neural pathways in their job, in their brain that says, hey, that don't help me. That don't affect me. It ain't easy to learn empathy. One could argue if you got to learn empathy, then maybe it ain't empathy. I don't know. But yes, it is possible for a narcissist to change. If a narcissist really wants to, I would say this. Let me say this. And I'm a big believer in this, no matter what it is. Let's say somebody is in a relationship with a narcissist or dealing with a narcissist. We're all dealing with the U.S. empire, so we're all in a relationship with a narcissist. So this makes sense. If you change, the people around you have to change because what they did won't work before. If you're in a relationship with a narcissist and you start doing things differently, they're going to have to change because what they're doing doesn't work. Again, if the U.S. empire says to the people of America, all right, time to vote, do this, and the American people ain't doing it. What would happen if Americans said, we want the bases to close? And they said, we ain't close the bases. Shut up, you stupid voters. And the American people said, well, here's what we're doing. We ain't going to work. We ain't paying no taxes. None of us. We're not doing anything until those bases are closed, right? If we changed our actions, we're all taking to the street. We're all going to flood the streets of every major city. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. If we changed what we were doing, the leadership of the country would have no choice but to change what they were doing. When you're dealing with a narcissist, and see, let me give you an example. The narcissist says to Russia, we can build bases on your border. And Russia says, nah. They said, but we tell everybody that and we build bases on our border. Then we do what we want and we surround them with bases and we threaten them and we put missiles. And Russia said, he ain't doing that to us. Yes, we are. And Russia says, okay, well, then we will kick your ass right off our border if you don't do it. So what happens? When Russia does something different, China, no, this ain't going to work on Taiwan like it does. When people do something different, the narcissist has no choice but to do different change and do different things. The narcissist would go over to Africa. African countries, give us all your stuff and shut up. Now what happens? Russia and China come along and say, we want to give you another option. And the African country says, we got other options. We ain't listening to you no more. So now then Tony Blinken comes back to the African countries. Hey guys, how about we make a deal? We'd like to work with you enough to do. No, I don't trust you anymore. Get out of my face. When the person who's dealing with the narcissist acts differently, when they react differently, the narcissist has no choice because what they were doing doesn't work. When the narcissist yells at you and says, you better do what I want, and the person gets scared of the yelling and they do what they want, the narcissist is going to do that every day. When the narcissist says, you do what I want, and the person says, shut up, and they walk in the other room. I told you to do what I want, and you better do what I want right now. And the person slams the door, wham, locks it. Now what's the narcissist going to do? They can yell over and over and over. It ain't working. They're going to have to try another ploy. And they will try another ploy. Don't get me wrong. I'm just simply saying now you have now changed things because the narcissist is starting to learn. You're training them that what they're doing won't work. And they'll have to try something else or do something else. So can a narcissist change? I would argue you can change a narcissist in some ways simply by not doing what they're accustomed to. There's an old saying about narcissists. If you want to know if somebody's a narcissist, tell them no. That's how you can figure. Narcissists don't like no. Everybody's supposed to do what they're born. And that's the U.S. empire. When somebody says no, what Putin said, no. Hey, we're moving into Ukraine. Putin says no. Yes, you are. Yeah, we are. Putin says, we'll settle this. We'll go out back and settle this like men. All right. Let's see. Anything else? All right. Any others? Eric, what we do with a narcissist that we can't get rid of, say a parent, a boss, or a country with nukes. The bottom line is this. Look, if a person is a narcissist, there's a couple of things I would say. Number one, avoid them as much as possible because they're just going to make your life miserable. If it's a boss, be professional. Do what you got to do. If you can find somewhere else to work, fine. But understand what you're up with. Do not engage them in the narcissistic games, and do not show them. But here's what's very important: a person that throws a punch wants to see a bruise. What does somebody say when they swing and miss? As we say in Zen, when they throw a rock down a well and they don't hear a splash. Ha ha ha! I fixed you, didn't I? You're a jerk. Just look at them. You go back to work. You're a jerk. Why? Because they want you to say, ouch. They want you to say, oh, don't call me a jerk. They want something. What happens? I think one of the best things you can do to a person who's narcissistic, aggressive, gives you a hard time is just not ever show them that it bothers you in any way, shape, or form. I've had that experience in law enforcement, trust me, where I've dealt with people who their whole thing is they're going to get on your nerves. And when they find out that it doesn't bother you, they'll go find somebody else that it does bug. They'll go, oh, crap, I can't piss Eric off, so I'll find somebody else to piss off. And what we're seeing now is the bully, the narcissist US is running around the world, and countries just aren't buying it anymore. They're not doing what we want them to do, and so we got to try something else, and that ain't working. All right, everybody. Well, thanks a lot. As always, do me a favor. Look at everything scrolling across the bottom. Go to rockfin.com/Garland Nixon and become a free unpaid member on Rockfin. And if they throw me off of YouTube, you know where to find me. You can watch all of my stuff on Rockfin. And of course, Rockfin does allow you to be a subscriber. It's $14.99 a month. If you can afford it, please become a subscriber on my Rockfin channel. It helps keep the channel strong. It helps keep Rockfin on the air going. They don't do advertisements. Also, there's lots of other ways. Of course, I ain't on Twitter anymore for obvious reasons, but you've got Buy Me a Coffee, Patreon, all that kind of stuff, Cash App. If you can, PayPal, if you can help out the channel, fine. If not, hey, just share this on all of your social media platforms. Thanks a lot, everybody. Peace. I'm out. Share it. And don't forget to assault with brutality and anger the like button. Punch the like button, kick the like button, beat up the like button, whatever you want to do. Just absolutely elbow smash to the like button. That's always good. If you can kick it, maybe you can go out in the garage, find a big old iron bar, bam, beat the hell out of the like button. I want you to make that like button suffer, so we can get as many likes as we can. And the algorithm, Mr. Algorithm, we may get around him trying to block me and block us. Thanks a lot. Peace. I'm out.